Hello, everyone. Today we will be talking about automating testing of the forms. And there are several challenges with automating testing for forms, which usually you would have. So first of all, let me walk you through the specific features that testRigor has to simplify, and what kind of challenges usually our customer ran into before using testRigor. So let's open an example form here. So like this is example with a safe way. So basically, like some of the forms are very simple, right? Like for example, search products from a user's perspective. However, if you try to rely on ID, that might be changing. testRigor allows you to enter the data stably, relying on how it looks from end user's perspective. In this case, you can say things like enter product into search products. Moreover, testRigor can also automatically associate whatever looks like a label from end user's perspective with the input, such that you can say things like enter test into first name and testRigor into last name based on how it looks from end user's perspective. Here, there might be no technical association between first name text and this input below. However, if you see an instruction enter test in the first name, you as a human intuitively understand that we're talking about this input below, rather than like trying to figure out what to do with this text, right? You associate this text automatically, and this is what testRigor allows you to do easily. So you can do things like enter test in the first name, testRigor the last name. Finally, next thing testRigor can do for you is it can simplify working with dropdowns. And another challenge working with dropdowns oftentimes is that it's not always actually a dropdown is instructed by HTML, right? In HTML, the dropdowns usually select tags with option tags. However, in a modern application, oftentimes there is just something which looks like a dropdown from a user's perspective. However, it is not a dropdown. In this case, it's very easy to deal with testRigor. In majority of the cases, you will be able to say things like enter April into month or something like that in a birthday section, or if that our AI would be able to detect that this thing is a dropdown, then you can just click on the month and click on an April. It's make it very easy, and let's do that. So for let's play this with SafePay application. testRigor also have a way to help you to express the steps in English. That is not perfect, of course, but it will help you to speed up your creating your first test. After that, it will be faster to just use rules instead of using this recording. Okay, so let's do sign up.
Can you share your screen?
All right. So let's start again. I apologize, I wasn't sharing the screen, but let's basically start an application. Like let's select SafePay. Let's click start new recording. So this way, the testRigor will be able to help you to formulate the steps. And then let's click on sign up. Let's sign in. I want to use something which we would use for testing in here. And let's sign in. Okay. Let's close this. Let's click on account. And I want to go to account settings. As you can see, it now looks different. Let's click add for the birthday. And let's select, well, in this particular case, it will be very straightforward. Let's select June for the month. And let's select 8 for the day, and then click save. And then we want to validate it as 6/8 is present on the screen. Let's stop the recording in here. As you can see here, it recorded the steps in here for us. Click email address. We don't care about that. Click sign in. Close account settings, and so this is what I was talking about. You can select June from a month and 8 from a day. Click save, and then instead of the click, we can do the validation. And we'll kick it off. So once again, oftentimes the challenge, as I was mentioning, is in the fact that like you should be able to deal with these custom dropdowns, custom checkboxes, and all this kind of stuff, which testRigor help you to automatically identify and use the same languages you were to use with the dropdowns. And testRigor uses AI machine learning in order to detect those and classify those dropdowns. So this is one. And second, it is easy to express everything purely from a user's perspective. Anyway, let us get into our project and see how our test is executing. This is our test here, and this is an example. It's basically going through, clicking sign up, sign in, entering the data. Goes into account settings. So we are here. Well, in this particular case, the test will fail because there is no more. There's no more ad on the birthday anymore. But well, hopefully it illustrates the point. So let me select another example here. We have this test page, and another interesting example here is selecting those checkboxes, right? So the thing is that you might have those checkboxes like in a lot of places on a screen. Oftentimes, you need to select the ones which are related, let's say, to gender and are in a certain section. So let's imagine there are multiple sections and multiple options in where you can select male and female. In testRigor, you can specify exactly what you want to do in there. Let's create a new test suite for us for this application. And select, let's say, female for this gender in this section. So let's create this, make it web test. And the way you would do it is you can express it the same way as you would say it in English. You would be able to say, hey, click female on the right of gender. So click female below automation practice and on the right of gender. Let's do exactly that. Test section. Below this to indicate the section, and on the right is more nature of flow. So because it's like first below and then on the right. Let's kick it off. So basically, as you remember, the way testRigor works is it starts a web application. Like if you're selecting to test on, in this particular case, Ubuntu on Chrome, so it starts Ubuntu machine, starts Chrome browser, loads the URL which you have specified when you have created a test suite. Then it waits until this page loads, and then it starts to execute steps simulating how those steps would be executed by a human. Let's look into this one. So as you can see here, it highlighted female because we're able to detect a section. So it got a section, it got this kind of more specific thing like gender, and it found like female on the right of gender. So we were able to click that. All right. And they have a bug in here. So it doesn't, in this particular case, there is an issue that this female is not anyhow associated with a radio button. So we would need to specifically fix that and enter, instead of click female, which doesn't do anything, we'll have to enter on into female. And then you still specify where this female is located. So this way you basically check that female again. It will be associated automatically. You don't need to do anything. So you always keep expressing everything purely from end user's perspective. Okay, so I guess this is it for a simple form, working with form examples. So as I was mentioning, as soon as you can express something in English from a user's perspective, testRigor will be able to execute it for you. And let's open up for questions.
So one question is, can I fill in a form, submit it, and then verify that the email was sent out in one test?
Yes, yes, you can. In fact, we have an example. Give me a second. I'll pull it up. So testRigor supports. So it's a very important test to be able to sign up for customers. And we have some examples where. So, and a part of the sign up process oftentimes is you need to verify email and get data from the email, because the email would contain some kind of a link or a registration code which you would need to use. I think I found it. Give me 1 second. Yep, got it. Let me share my screen again. So this is an example of Twitter signups where you go through the registration flow. You enter a lot of data into forms, as you can see here. And then basically the last steps are, when you say sign up, it will send you an email and it will expect a verification code from your email. So in testRigor, you can, if you generated unique email using testRigor command and save it, let's say as a new email variable, then you'll be able to say, hey, check that email. It will render it for you as a page, and you'll be able to use the same commands you would usually use with testRigor in order to work with a page. You can do validations, or in this particular example, we'll grab a text below verification code, save it as a code, and switch back. We switched it back, and then we entered our stored value code into verification code and click next. So this way, like you can also continue. We don't want to continue with this Twitter registration, but you can continue, as you can imagine, and finish registration flow, in this case for Twitter. And point being is you should be able to use VF emails and sometimes text messages in order to be able to complete your sign up flow. And testRigor supports those use cases out of the box. testRigor runs its own testing email server, so that you can send and receive. You can receive emails if you use certain domain. It's all in documentation, and you will be able to therefore render those emails and work with them like an end user would, in order to extract the data and so on and so forth, in order to be able to complete the flow, be it the email or a text message.
Okay. The last question, a lot of automation tools struggle with dynamically created forms. Is this the same for testRigor?
No, it is not. There are two things which I think could be mentioned here specifically. One is that the fact that there are no unique stable identifiers for the inputs in here, and that, as we discussed, is addressed by the fact that testRigor does not rely on details of implementation, how those inputs are implemented and outlined, and it on the other hand is actually relying on how it looks from end user. You can use whatever looks like labels or placeholders or anything else. Somehow you can, if you have a way of expressing in English the way how to find elements on the screen, you will be able to do that with testRigor. And this is how it will execute it and find it for you, and you'll be able to work with it. This is one. Another example, another thing, what the question means in here is the form is being changed dynamically as we go. And classical example for that is if you select, in this example, if you select month, you will be able to select day because different months contain different number of days. Another very common example is after you select a country, and if the country is United States, then you will be able to see another drop down, which is a state drop down, which otherwise not visible. And again, testRigor will be able to easily process that. So just express the same way you select United States from country, and then select California from state. And it will just work as you would expect, because yet again, in testRigor, you're just writing what needs to be done for end users the same way you would be writing a test case for manual tester. So testRigor will emulate how manual tester will work with it, and as soon as you have selected United States as a country in a dropdown, then the state dropdown will appear, and therefore testRigor will be able to proceed. And of course, it will automatically wait until the state dropdown will appear. As soon as it appears, it will continue.
Right, excellent. So that's the end of this session for today. And our next one, next Wednesday, will be on testing drag and drop functionality. So we hope you'll join us then. Thank you.
Thank you.